what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Lone Wolf 902, and today I've got a new tent to show you. I've also got a sled full of goodies to review. So today is going to be another review day. You guys know how I like doing that. I like coming out, sled, backpack, whatever, do 3, 4, 5 different products. That way the next time I go out, I can actually just go out and do an overnighter and camp. So today I've got, like I said, I got a bunch of stuff in here. But this episode is going to be on a new hot tent that I received from the company Pomoly. So let's have a look at this and the wood stove that they sent me that goes with this as well. So I want to go ahead and set it up and we'll get into the tent right away. Okay, so let's get this tent out of the bag. And I got a number of things inside of this tent. So first, I'll go ahead and mention their website is in the link of the description. Now, I've been testing this tent off and on for probably about 3 weeks. Snow, wind, most recently rain, and that's what I was really holding off on. I was waiting for really good heavy rainfall before I was happy with bringing this to the channel. So it passed the rain test phenomenally. This thing is awesome in weather. So on their website, you'll notice, if you guys jump on over there, there is the tent, the main TP tent, which is a floorless shelter. There is also a full mesh inner tent that they sent me that I do not have with me today because there's snow on the ground. So I'm not going to do the review on the mesh inner just because it's not spring right now. It's still winter. But what it does is it turns the entire tent into a summer tent that you can unzip the doors and then unzip the mesh and go inside, kick your shoes off, and have no bugs, no mosquitoes. Now, obviously, you can't run a stove with the mesh inner because the pipe wouldn't have anywhere to go. So there's that option. We've got the open TP style, we've got the summer full mesh, and then we've got the half inner tent, which I do have with me today, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that. Basically, it separates the tent down the middle, turning half into a floorless shelter and the other half into a closed wall section that you can unzip, get in with your sleeping gear, put everything in, zip it up and whatnot. So kind of a good shoulder season thing, early spring, late fall kind of area where there might still be bugs out. But anyways, let's go ahead and get all of this good stuff out of the bag, and I'm going to set it up just behind me, and yeah, I'll show it to you. Oh, one more thing. There's also a ground sheet in here, and got a ground sheet also. So what I say, half inner tent, ground sheet, tent, mesh inner. Let's just get it set up, show it to you guys. All right, let's do that. All right, so the tent comes with quite a large bag of hardware here. Go ahead and dump it out on this tent piece here, and let's have a look. So it comes with four, 1, 2, 3, 4, I want to say this is 1/4 inch rope. It's pretty large rope, but it comes with 4 guy out lines, and they do have little tensioners on the cordage already. So you can go ahead and tie out the tent and kind of stake it out if you really need to. So it's got 4 of these. Go ahead and put them back in the bag. It has these very large nail, these are all steel by the way, very large nail type tent pegs. Now, I should mention this tent is not a backpacking tent, okay? I believe the tent on the website is coming in at 21 pounds. I'm not totally sure on that, as I never am with specs of that nature, but go onto their website and definitely have a look for yourself. But I'm gonna say it's 21 pounds with the tent, the pegs, the top cone piece, and a couple other odds and ends here. So it does have 2, 4, 6 of these large nail type pegs, and then it's got a whole bunch of these other steel pegs. So I want to say there's probably 15 or 20. So I'm going to go ahead and pop all the hardware back into the bag other than these nail pegs, because you need these right away to set up the tent, as well as the included pole. So the center pole comes in its very nice own bag, and it's 4 pieces. So we get 4 pieces of pipe that have these little thumb kind of locks that go into the hole. So you push down, click, so there's one section put together. The other section has a little rubber foot. That is gonna go up at the top. Sorry, two sections have a rubber foot, I just noticed. This piece here has a flat bottom, and this guy has like a little cap that goes over the top. I'm gonna put the cap up at the top of the tent, and I'm gonna put this harder end to the ground. So I'll go ahead and assemble the center pipe here, and then I'll go and pop the tent up, and we'll start having a look at the tent features. Okay guys, so we got the whole tent set up, the outer tent I should say, with one piece missing, and this is the top cap, but I want to talk about that before I put this on. So let's go ahead and start at the top. And this tent does have a very large door opening. So right now this is one panel of the door. Go ahead and roll it back. And it does have toggles here, like your typical tent. So you go ahead and toggle the door open. And you can go ahead and toggle the second door open, so it's a very, very large opening. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this side of the shelter, so I'm gonna leave this door open, this door shut. Mainly because that's where the inner tent's gonna go. We'll get into that later on, but for now I'm gonna leave one door open, one door shut, and let's talk about this top piece up here. All right, so here we are with the cone piece. As you can see through all these little webbing straps, the center pole is in here. And note that there is a buckle way up here. So it's like a buckle for your backpack type thing. I'm gonna show you that a little bit where that comes into play. But for now, we've got the center pole coming up through the center, and it goes into these straps which give the tent structure. So coming back to this hood, what we're gonna do, and keep in mind, I'm 5'7", so this is probably coming up to, I don't know, 7 feet tall. It's quite a tall shelter, so you can actually stand up in here and get changed, which is pretty nice, or at least I can. But yeah, let's go ahead and get the cone on, and I'll show you how this works, because obviously this isn't going to stop any rain or snow right now. So this is a great addition, by the way. So it has an opening like this on one side, and if you kind of buckle it up like that, you can see it makes the top portion of the tent. Now, why this is useful is when you're inside of the tent and it gets really hot. So you're in there and you're roasting with that wood stove. You can come outside, and these secure on these little metal hooks. So you would stretch all of these bungee cords down to these metal guys all the way around the tent, which I'll show you guys in a minute. But when you get too hot, you can step outside of the tent, you can unbuckle this guy, and you can unfold the flap a little bit, or you can unfold it a lot and let a lot of hot air out. So for today, we're gonna go ahead and bundle it up because it is about minus 12 degrees Celsius. So let's go ahead and secure this, and then I'll show to you what it looks like when it's all on there. Okay, so coming to the back side of the tent, or the other side of the tent, I should say. Here's the second doorway. I'm gonna go ahead and open up this second door for now, because I'm gonna have to walk around and kind of hook these on from the hood. There's a shock cord, and it hooks on to these metal rings on the tent. So I'm just gonna stand in here, hook this guy on, go around the tent, get them all secure, and then I'll come back and show you guys what that's for. Okay, so coming over to the front of the shelter, see I still got the door open, and like I was mentioning, these shock cords. So if you're inside of the tent and you got the wood stove going and you're sitting in here, and let's say you're doing some cooking and you require a lot of heat, and the heat's really building up here and it's getting really hot, and you don't really want to open the doors because let's say it's windy or they're blowing snow going all over the place or whatnot. So let's just say, for example, these doors are shut and it's getting hot and you want some of the heat to get out, right? Through the top is the best way. So let's go open up the top and I'll show you how you can vent out some heat. And this is a great feature because I actually used this when I was out with my son, and we had this thing blistering hot, and it was nighttime and it was quite windy, so we did leave the doors shut. And I was like, oh, I got an idea. I remember that these come off. So I jumped outside, opened it up. It went literally, I'm not even joking, it was 56 degrees Celsius inside at head level down on the ground. 56 degrees Celsius. So I got out in a hurry and I opened this up and we brought it down to probably about 35 degrees Celsius at head level, sitting down, not standing up, like sitting down. And that was more reasonable, but this tent holds a lot of heat. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up some of these guys and open up the cone. You guys can see how that works. So just reaching around, open a few of these guys up. Open these guys up like this. And then you can see here we've got the cone half open. You could take the whole thing off while you're kind of camping here if you really need the whole thing off, or you want to let more sunlight in, or whatever you're feeling. You can go ahead and open this up. Now if I only need to open a little bit, you'll notice that these overlap significantly, and that's where your water seal comes in. So this guy comes over to here, this guy comes way over to here. So you've got a good 14 to 16 inches of overlap that, like, no water's getting in there. You would seriously have to have some massive sideways rain to even get a drop in there. It's pretty secure. So on one side of the tent there is this generous vent. It is screened in, so no bugs are getting in here. It does have a very nice mesh, but there's one of these kind of kickstand vents that pops out, and it does allow air to kind of come up and in and get in there and kind of cool it down and regulate it. You can close this down and it does kind of block some of the air out, so you have best of both worlds. You can kind of open it up all the way or push it down and kind of block. I personally always have this open. It gets extremely hot in this tent if you're running the stove, so it's nice to have this kind of coming in, circulating air and just kind of keeping it fresh, you know. So it does have a vent here along with the vent up top as well. So let's go ahead and get inside and talk about some of the features. Okay, so first off, stove jack. So we got a generous opening here on the stove jack. You can see it's situated on the center panel in between both doors. So over here we got a door, and over here we've got a door. The door over to my right, your left, is closed, and this door is open. So let's go ahead and open up the stove jack and get a good look at it. So stepping over to the side here, we got a stove jack. This comes with a tent. This is permanently secured inside. It's a very nice thick material, and it's got a nice little fire retardant yellow ring around it to kind of house your pipe for your wood stove. Go ahead and roll this up. It does come with a toggle, so you can toggle in the flap. Now I've gone ahead and made a little modification to this tab, and I'll bring you guys in for a closer look so you can see this. Okay, so up here on the tab you got your toggle and this piece of silver nylon kind of mesh. This is not fireproof, so if you could picture a pipe coming through here, this is really close to the pipe. So all I've done is I've taken a piece of string, you can see right here, I tied a loop, and what I did is I brought this up out of the toggle and I brought that right up to the hook that's holding the hood on the tent, and that pulls that strap up and out of the way, and it never even comes in close contact with your pipe. So that's a little mod that I did for mine. So this angle is a little tricky to film, but you can see that the inside of the tent has this, put my head inside of it, it's got this big net enclosure around the top, and around it are all of these buckles. So all the buckles that go around the circumference are where the full mesh inner would clip into. I don't have it with me today. Now there is one buckle way up at the top that I mentioned. That's where the half inner tent clips onto. We'll get to that in a little bit, but for now, if you pull this cord right around the center pole, and then you can take this orange cordage and you can kind of tuck it back up inside of itself. This is what keeps it bug tight. So this is what keeps all the bugs out and turns it into kind of a nice little area where you can just relax without getting all mosquitoes and ticks and everything inside of your tent if you're running the mesh enclosure. Now, even right now, it does block a lot of blowing snow, surprisingly, and it's a really fine mesh to the point where it almost does retain a certain amount of heat. I find if you open this up, if you're trying to vent for heat and you're trying to get that hot air out, I open it up like this, and I really let all the hot air out and the fresh air kind of come in and mix. Totally up to you guys. Another little feature is if you got a pair of gloves, you can take your pair of gloves and stick them inside of the mesh and then cinch it up. And now you basically have a full circular drying rack. And I've put hats, I put gloves, shirts, everything up here, and they're drying like 20 minutes. When the stove's going, it gets really, really hot. So that's a really cool feature that I like about this tent. And to get them out, you just simply open it up, grab your gloves out, go ahead and cinch it back up, and it works great. So just moving around the tent a little bit and the little pieces and kind of features of stuff that I've shown you already, you can kind of get the idea that this is a fairly large tent. It's 9.8 feet in diameter, so it's pretty close to most 10-foot diameter hot tents for 2 people. You can fit, you could fit 3 adults in here, no problem. I'm just kind of looking at how the layout is. Me and my son slept in here and it was no problem. But if you did not have a stove in here, 3, maybe 4. If you had couples, if you had 2 people on one side of the center pole and 2 on the other side, no problem, you could fit 4. But for 3 adults that don't really want to be that close to each other, I would say you'd be able to fit 3, no problem. And with a wood stove, I would say for safety, 2 people. 2 people is good. So it's a very generous shelter. It's silver on the inside, as you guys can see, and like I said, green on the outside. The silver lining on the inside is very nice at nighttime. You can put a candle inside, and the whole inside glows from one candle. So it offers loads of light, loads. The flip side to that, right now, you can see outside bright, inside not. So inside of the tent, I've woken up inside of this tent and it be 9:30 in the morning and the sun's up and I'm laying in bed, can't even really tell that it's daylight until you open the door and realize that it's daylight, or you can see little peaks of light kind of around the snow skirt. Now it does block light, so that's kind of a give and take. If you don't like that, if you do like that, it has its uses. If you're kind of in an area stealth camping or you want some privacy, you don't want people being able to see into your tent from outside when you're in there with a light. Perfect. You can't see inside of here. You can't see out. It's great. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a really great idea. Nice silver. It retains heat. Like I said, it reflects a lot of the light, and it does make the shelter seem huge. It really does. If this shelter was a dark solid green like the outside, I think it would make it feel really boxed in and really claustrophobic. But this silver opens it up very nicely. And actually, speaking of which, let's open up the other door and then you can actually see how much light gets in with the door open. Okay, so here we got the second door open and you can see it lets in a load of light. Like now that the second door is open, we got the sun shining in from this side. Beautiful in here, loads of light. The silver lining really helps reflect all of the light. Like I was saying, if you're in here and you have a candle, it really lights up the whole shelter just from one candle burning or maybe a lantern. It is really nice in here at nighttime. It's very, very cozy. The fabric is a nice, thick kind of canvas material. 100% waterproof, no moisture is coming through this. It's all seam taped, very, very heavy duty. This tent fits into not the backpacking category, but into a base camp category. So if you're out here for 3, 4, or 5 nights, if you're out maybe on an elk hunt or a bear hunt, or if you're just out kind of out in the wild for a week, this is an excellent fabric. Excellent. It's very, very strong. It's very durable. I've had sparks land on this from a nearby outdoor fire, and they literally bounce right off. So it's not very prone to burning holes in it. So it's a nice tent. It really is. All right, so way back here, this is where the square vent is that I was showing you on the outside. That's where that's situated. And basically right where I'm kind of knelt down, this is where you would be sleeping. So the half inner tent that comes in here fills this whole half of the tent. So the door would be here. You would unzip the door, crawl in, you'd have your floor. And then inside of that inner tent, there's a little moon-shaped door. And I'll show you this, guys, later. But there's an actual moon-shaped door, half circle, that unzips right in place of this. so it's always open for ventilation if you want it to be. I like it. It offers loads of fresh air. Great idea, great spot too. And it's directly across from the wood stove. So all this talk about wood stove, let's go ahead and get it in here, and let's talk about the wood stove that comes with this tent and a few modifications that I made to it. So I'm gonna go grab the stove, get it set in here, and we'll have a look at it, and yeah, and then we'll just keep going. So this is the stove that they have available on their website as well, and it is sold as an optional piece. So you could buy just the tent, or you could buy the tent and the stove. It is a great stove. I will say this, and I do enjoy the stove a lot. It has a few features in here. I'll go ahead and bring the camera in closer, and you guys can kind of have a look at this, and then I'll talk about the modification that I had to make. All right, so here you can see the stove. It comes with a little poker stick, and it also comes with these two shelves that hook onto these arms right here. One is slightly narrower than the other. So the narrower one goes onto the arm where it fits, and the wider one goes onto the arm where it fits, leaving you a nice tabletop to put bread, food, whatever you want warm up here, or you can take them off and hang your socks or gloves over top of these. These are carry handles as well, so you can fold it up and pick up the stove by both of those. So, excellent door. Got a nice draft on the front, little collar there. It has a double burn chamber, so this is a box within a box, if you understand what I'm saying. I'll get the camera pointing in here and you guys can kind of have a look at what I'm talking about, because it is basically a burn box inside of a larger box, making it a double wall stove, which really helps promote a lot of hot air. So this thing really does burn efficiently, and it pushes out a lot of hot air. So you guys will notice this ring of weld along the top of the stove. So this used to be removable. I'll go ahead and shut the door, get that out of the way. So this top plate used to be removable with this little poker stick. There was a hole drilled in the middle. You could put that in there, remove the top, and then you'd have open flames coming out. Kind of like the older style stoves where you could put your frying pan on there and have the actual flames from inside hitting the bottom of your pan, and your pan would seal off the top. Now, I burned in this. I actually did a ramen review video where I reviewed a pack of ramen from Samyang, Korea. Anyways, I did a pack of ramen and cooked it on this wood stove, and around the lip, it was wisping out very, very small amounts of smoke, but I could not get it to stop doing it. And I burned in it for about 2 hours, and it just a little bit of smoke was leaking out the top. And you guys know me, I take my kids with me camping and whatnot, and knowing that this stove leaked a tiny bit of smoke absolutely ended any possibility for me bringing my kids out here and having them inside of here while this was burning, because you never know. I mean, you could put some wood inside of this and go to sleep, and next thing you know, the tent's full of smoke. It's a dangerous situation. So I personally, I didn't like it. Sure, you could have maybe fiddled around with it, but there's no need for me to remove the top to put a pan on there. I mean, this is getting plenty hot. This is plenty hot to cook on. There's no need to have a removable top. So I went ahead and I got my buddies to weld this up for me. They did a very good job. It's still messy and scratched up because it was literally just done the other day. So they went ahead, welded this on permanently. Now I can still put my pan on here and cook. And I'm not going to do a full review of the stove today. I'll talk more about it as I use it more. But I will say it does burn very efficiently. It does have a nice little kind of vent on the front that's open and closable. It's realistically, the burn chamber is probably the same size as an ammo can stove. So it's a lot more of a stove though, because it does have these removable tables and the carry handle and the drying rack. The legs are also foldable, so they fold up. It's a very nice stove. I do enjoy it. I want to say it's probably coming in at about the 18-pound range. You're probably looking around 50 to 55 pounds for the wood stove, the tent, and the mesh, or the half inner tent. It's not bad, considering a lot of canvas tents are 50 pounds just by themselves. So it is more of a sled pulling kind of shelter, or back of your ATV or the back of your truck. A canoe would work great also. You're not going to be carrying this in with a backpack though. I mean, it's just, I brought it in here with a sled and it worked fine. So anyways, like I said, this is the stove that came with it. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I really haven't used it a whole lot, and I'm not going to give advice on something I haven't used a whole lot. But from the little use that I have used it so far, I'm loving it. So let's go ahead and we'll get that half inner tent set up in here, and you guys can have a look at that because that has a few features of it in itself. And then I will most likely give you guys another look outside, maybe talk about a few things, and then wrap up the review. All right, so here's the half inner tent. And you guys remember that buckle that I was talking about that was way up at the top? That's where this guy goes. So this is the peak of the shelter. It's gonna come all the way up like this. I gotta reach through the top and snap this buckle on way at the top. And then we'll go ahead and set up on the doors and the little hooks where this guy gets pegged out. So coming out to the zipper of the main tent, there's a peg down on the ground. One corner of this shelter, and this itself, man, this tent, everything in this tent is built to last a very long time. So I haven't tried it yet, and in fact, I'm not even sure. Okay, so I was gonna say you could almost sleep in just this. So this is not seam taped. It doesn't need to be. It's inside of the tent that's seam taped. But if this was seam taped, I would say that you could pitch this without anything else, and you could sleep inside of this. That's how durable it is. Very, very durable. So the floor on this is it's pretty close to the outside fabric, honestly. This stuff is robust. It is strong, so no worries about anything on the ground, maybe poking through and getting your air pad or whatnot. But I just wanted to mention that because this inner tent does offer the floor. It doubles as a ground sheet. It's very durable. So in the corner, I have a shock cord here that's going to go down to the corner to the peg of the tent. I want to go ahead and hook in. There's one here on this door, there's one on that door, and then there's two in the back side by the vent. And it's just as simple as taking the shock cord, slipping it over the peg. So I'm not going to bother showing you guys that, but I'll go ahead and get it all set up, and then I'll bring you guys back. All right, so here we got the half inner tent installed. Like I said, it's just 4 simple shock cords along the bottom, plus the buckle up top. Now, I want to talk about the outside of this. There is a generous 8-inch gap, about a 6 to 8-inch gap in between this and the outer tent. So this tent never comes in contact with the outer wall, which is very important for 2 reasons. One, moisture is not going to build up, and you're not going to risk this touching and then leaking through and getting all nasty and wet. 2, the hot air circulates around this inner tent almost like a capsule. It almost like you're in a bubble and you're surrounded by hot air. Now what this also does is this almost kind of creates like a super shelter feel. So when you're inside of here and you zip it shut, the hot air from the stove seeps through this and then it gets kind of trapped in there. So you can feel a really hot cloud. So I do actually recommend using this with the stove, as when the stove dies out and burns down throughout the night, the hot air still stays in here. So it's really nice. It works really, really well. So let's talk a bit about the features on this guy. As you can see, it is unzipped a little bit. There are 2 zippers. So I'm gonna unzip the mesh. So that first zipper undoes the mesh. Very nice mesh. Go ahead and roll this up. It does have toggles on here as well, as most tents do. So go ahead and toggle that in and leave that one open for now. Now you'll notice a panel. The whole mesh, or the whole inner tent, is a 4-season panel tent, which is pretty neat. Go ahead and unzip that, and we'll roll this back as one, and we'll toggle both of them into the same toggle. Get it out of the way. Now to toggle both doors open like this, you're going around both doors. There is no toggle on the other side because it's only meant to toggle one open at a time. So I just break off a little tiny twig of a stick and I stick it in there just to hold it open. You see I got another stick here. Go ahead and roll this because it's kind of hard to explain. The toggle is in between. So you can roll back the mesh, toggle that, or roll back the door. So it's kind of designed to always have one zipped shut, if you kind of get what I'm saying. So let's just go ahead and open this up. And I just put a little stick in here, like I was saying, or a carabiner, whatever, tent peg. So there you go, it's open, and it is very roomy. So I'll go ahead and bring the camera in, you can kind of see inside what we're looking at. All right, so coming inside, I'm literally laying on the ice. This ground, the whole ground is ice. So no sleeping mat. So I'm in here, and you can kind of see this half moon door that I was telling you about. That unzips, giving you a very nice opening right where that outer mesh is. So if you do want to vent this, you have the option to do so. Go ahead and zip that back shut. 2 zippers on that, guys, so you can open it either way. Now, I'm gonna go ahead, scooch all the way back here, and you guys can see there's a load of room. So this literally is half of the entire tent, because you got the pole right here. So one person, this is a mansion. I usually sleep way up here. I would sleep in this area, and then use the back side for clothing, hats, gloves, headlamp, whatever. So very, very nice. Now inside of here, there are no pockets, so which is nice. I don't really, I'm getting away from pockets on tents, because whenever you put something in there, it weighs it down. There's pulling on the wall and all that stuff. So there's no pockets in here. It does have a generous bathtub type floor though. You can see we got a good 5 to 6 inches maybe of this gray kind of ground sheet material. So there's a nice bathtub effect around the entire enclosure, which is very nice. So if you do have a wet ground or snow or whatever, this kind of ripstop nylon's elevated. Now this ripstop is also treated to be waterproof, and it is some heavy ripstop. Like everything in this tent, all the fabrics of this tent, even that ground sheet, the optional ground sheet that I have, everything, the outer tent, the materials are incredibly robust, very well built. The zippers again are very, very strong. I can't see this tent failing manufacture wise. I could see if someone maybe wrenched on the zipper too hard, it might rip, just like anything else. But I think this tent is going to last a very, very long time, and I'm not really upset about the weight. I'm actually happy that it is a bigger and bulkier tent, because it is built to last. Like you could be out here for a week, not even worry about anything. And that's in fact is exactly what I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about coming out for maybe 4 or 5 nights in this tent and just kind of living in it. So great tent, and a great stove too. Just looking at that now, actually, I just kind of thinking to mention this. If you're laying inside of here, and let's say, so I am camping, scenario time. If I'm in here camping and my feet are down at the other end, like so. So if I'm camping in here and I'm inside of my sleeping bag and I'm on my sleeping pad and I'm all nice and warm, and let's say I got one of these doors zipped shut, but right now they're open. I want to reach out and put wood in the stove. I could leave the stove just as it is right now. But if I really wanted ease of access, I can go ahead. Don't do that when it's hot, obviously. But if I want to position the stove like this, I could simply reach out, open it up, grab some firewood wherever I have it. Maybe I got a couple pieces right here, load it in, go ahead, shut the door, back to sleep. Very nice system. And like I said, you can zip 1 or 2 of these doors shut, or both, whatever you want. It's a really good livable shelter, it really is. So that's pretty much about all I got for the inside of the tent. So I'm gonna jump out and I'll show you a little bit more features of the outer tent, and then we will wrap up the review with my final thoughts. So here on the outside, another feature I'm not sure if I touched on yet. It does have a very nice snow skirt. So this is probably, again, about another 6 to 7 inch of snow skirt. Underneath, you can see where the other peg is. So there's a peg on the center of every single panel. So here we got a corner, over there we got a corner, and then right in the center there's another peg out point, which is very, very reinforced. It's a nice peg out point. So go ahead and sink a peg in the ground, done. And that goes all the way around the tent and continues around. So these are very nice snow skirts. My last trip that I went out with my son, the two of us ended up kicking a lot of snow over top. It sealed the tent very, very well. And in the morning, it was actually, it poured with rain. So all the rain sat in here like a moat, and none of it leaked out. So that just goes to show the waterproofness of this fabric, that it actually held all of the water all the way around the tent. It didn't weigh it down or anything because it's already on the ground. But I thought it was really interesting that it was full of water, and I picked it up and none of the seams leaked, nothing leaked. Very, very good. So here you guys can see the ground sheet that I was talking about earlier on. I'm not going to go ahead and unfold the entire thing because it's just a ground sheet in the shape of the footprint of the tent. That's pretty basic, but it is very, very high quality. It does have a center seam, and there is a very generous piece of seam sealed tape there. This is waterproof, the entire thing. Very nice, very robust. So if you are looking for a floor inside of just the open kind of setup, you could do so. And if you're looking for a half floor, you don't have to pin the whole thing out to do the whole floor. You could pin from like this door to that door, kind of in the same shape as this. So just this section would have a floor, like a nice ground sheet. And then you can have the other section open with just the wood stove, if that's what you're into. Or maybe you want to run just the open tent and the ground sheet in the fall or the spring. Great option. Or if you just want to bring this on a different trip just to sleep on the ground, it's an excellent ground sheet. So that is all I'm going to say about that, because everyone knows what a ground sheet is. Excellent product. All right, guys, so here is the Pomoly TP style hot tent, and I think I pretty much covered everything about it. So we went from the ground sheet that I'm kneeling on now, the stuff sack, the individual stuff sack for the center pole, which is very nice. We got the wood stove covered. We got the half inner tent covered. I touched on the full mesh. This guy is not something that you're just going to pack up and throw on your shoulder and go walk in the woods. It's not going to happen. It's too big. It's too bulky. So putting it on a sled is key, or putting it on an ATV or snowmobile or in your truck, absolutely perfect. Okay. So that puts it into a whole different category. You can't really compare it against backpacking tents because it's in a completely different world. Excellent tent. I do love it. I really do like it, where you can vent the top with the nose cone. You got the built-in vent on the side to give you a little bit more ventilation. Two doors on the front, which is very nice. You can see one of them shut, one of them is open now, so it does create a really nice area. The stove is situated in an area where it's safe enough that it's not near the walls, and there's enough room behind it that you can put your packs, your dirty boots, whatever you need. So you're not wasting any space inside of the tent, I don't feel anyways. Now, the website has the pricing and all that other information about fabric types and whatnot, so head on over. Like I said, the link will be in the description of this video. And for the wood stove, you guys will be seeing that in future episodes, because I will be taking just that stove out in different hot tent shelters when I'm not using this tent, and I'll be using this tent on more extended stays, extended trips and whatnot. So all in all, I do like it, and I do actually 2 thumbs up for it, really. I'm happy with it. I've gone through my testing with it. The rain test was the last test, and I was very, very shocked at how well it performed. It, like, outside it was pouring with rain. Inside you can hear it, but it didn't sound like pounding rain until you went outside, opened the door, and went, wow, it's raining. So that fabric really, it's tough stuff. So 2 thumbs up for Pomoly. Thank you for sending me the tent. Thank you for sending me the stove, and it's going to be in a lot of future episodes. You guys will see it a lot more. If you do have any other questions that maybe I kind of slipped and I didn't cover, drop it down in the comment section, and I'll be sure to answer them the best that I can. And if you guys are looking for more specs and more of that kind of information, head on over to the website for Pomoly, and I'm sure they'll help you out. They're a great bunch, excellent at answering questions, and that's all I got. That's all I got for you guys, all right? So catch you guys in the next video.